Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a really hard look at the Dodge Viper Gen 5. This beast was produced from 2013 to 2017 and was hand-assembled at the Conner Avenue Assembly Plant in Detroit, the exact same spot every Viper had been built since October 1995. Now, production officially wrapped up in August 2017, the planned Successor was entirely canceled, and as of 2026, the Viper nameplate is officially permanently dead. But man, before it went out, it gave us a terrifying, beautiful, and absolutely absurd piece of American automotive history. We're going to break down every spec, every known quirk, and the current market to answer one simple question. Is this definitive Widowmaker a buy or a buy? Okay, let's just dive right into this. You know, the Gen 5 Viper is essentially what happens when Dodge decides to build a massive V10 truck engine, throw it into a composite body shell that basically catches fire if you look at it wrong, hand-build the whole thing in a Detroit plant roughly the size of a large McDonald's, and then say, you know what, this is way too dangerous, it has absolutely no traction control worth speaking of, the side pipes will literally burn your leg, and oh, by the way, it costs more than a Porsche 911 GT3. And then, predictably, Chrysler executives kill it because nobody is buying $100,000 Dodge. Yet, despite all of that absolute madness, it stands today as the final true analog supercar. Section 1. The Analog Swan Song. So, while the rest of the world was busy moving toward hybrid assistance and heavy electronic intervention, Dodge just doubled down. We're talking an all-aluminum, naturally aspirated 8.4-liter overhead valve V10. It's actually derived from an old Lamborghini-influenced V10, completely reworked for modern production, and it pushes out 640 to 645 horsepower alongside a tectonic 600 pound-feet of torque. Because it's a lightweight, two-seat, rear-wheel drive chassis, it rockets from 0 to 60 in just 3.4 seconds, maxing out at a blistering 206 miles per hour. And the best part? It pulls furiously from idle all the way to redline with absolutely zero turbos and no hybrid motors to save you. So the absolutely crucial point here is the transmission. Dodge never, not once, offered an automatic option for the Gen 5. If you want to experience those 645 horses, you are rowing your own gears through a heavy-duty Tremec TR6060 six-speed manual. This is the exact same brilliant bulletproof gearbox you'd find in the Corvette ZR1 and the Cadillac CTS-V. There are no paddles to tap, no dual-clutch lightning shifts to hide behind. You drive this car or you simply do not drive it. Section 2. Track Dominance and Variance. Now, over this generation's surprisingly short lifespan, Dodge took this V10 brute and evolves it into a legitimate, world-class track weapon. It all kicked off with the SRT Viper and GTS launch in 2013, starting with an original MSRP right around $99,390. Then Dodge brought out the Time Attack, or TA package, which seriously sharpened up the aerodynamics and suspension. But the undisputed pinnacle was the American Club Racer, the legendary ACR. That one peaked at an MSRP of about $121,395, and it was basically a street-legal race car right up until Dodge tragically pulled the plug on the entire line in 2017, with 5 final edition variants. And if you want undeniable proof of just how capable this chassis was, you just have to look at the track records. In 2014, the TA set the production car lap record at the famously technical Laguna Seca Raceway with a 133.62, outright beating the Corvette ZR1. But the absolute crown jewel happened in 2017. The ACR went to the Nürburgring and set a blistering 701.3 lap. Driven by Lance Arnold and, incredibly, fan-funded by 378 dedicated backers, it was the fastest rear-wheel drive production car at the time, completely demolishing the Mercedes-AMG GT-R's lap of 710.92. Section 3. The V10 and Known Issues. Listen, dreaming about setting lap records is fun and all, but owning one of these analog monsters requires some very serious commitment. The V10's bottom end is incredibly robust, but it is totally unforgiving if you neglect it. The massive engine and that super long crankshaft put the rod bearings under immense stress, so you are looking at strict oil changes every 3,000 to 5,000 miles using high-quality full synthetic. And you really need to keep a close eye on your dipstick, because this engine notoriously consumes an average of 1 quart of oil in that exact same 3,000 to 5,000 mile time frame. Beyond that basic care, there are some specific, fairly costly quirks. The rear cylinder bank exhaust manifolds are notorious for cracking, and that'll run you about $1,500 to $2,500 per side. The carbon fiber skinned door-leading edges, they tend to develop these micro cracks in the clear coat, another $1,500 to $2,500 fix. Bilstein adaptive dampers often fail between 50,000 and 80,000 miles, and those sticky Pirelli P0 tires will vanish rapidly, usually in just 8,000 to 15,000 miles. You might also see AC compressor failures, weak rear hatch hinges, Harman Kardon amp blowouts, and some buggy Uconnect 8.4 systems on the early 2013 and 2014 builds. But honestly, for a hand-built supercar, it has shockingly few problems. The V10 is totally overbuilt, and the car is mechanically simpler than its modern rivals. I mean, it has zero driver aids, worth speaking of. No adaptive cruise, no lane keep, no automatic emergency braking. Oh, and it's loud. The side pipes will scorch your passengers' calves, and the footwells get so incredibly hot you'll feel like you're standing in an oven. It's an uncompromising experience for sure. And since you're doing the shifting, you have to factor in the clutch. A clutch typically lasts between 30,000 and 60,000 miles, but replacing it results in a hefty $2,000 to $4,000 shop bill because it requires full transmission removal. On top of that, the clutch master and slave cylinders are known to fail right around that 60,000 to 90,000 mile mark. Plus, if you shift way too aggressively on the track, those Tremec synchros will eventually start to wear out, which demands a $1,500 to $2,500 transmission rebuild. Section 4. The Modern Competitors. Let's see how it stacks up, starting with Godzilla, the Nissan GT-R R35. The GT-R is a highly digital technological marvel. It's got a twin-turbo V6, all-wheel drive, and a dual-clutch transmission that basically does the driving math for you. The Viper? It's completely stripped of those digital safety nets. It's less refined than something like a Porsche 911 GT3 991, which is vastly more expensive on the used market, but it's far more engaging. Essentially, the GT-R is a supercomputer, while the Viper is a raw, rear-wheel drive sledgehammer you have to wield yourself. And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast when you look at its direct domestic rivals, the Corvette C7 Z06 and ZR1. The Z06 used a highly refined supercharged V8 that made it way easier to drive at the absolute limit. And while the C7 ZR1 offers immense power, it is significantly more expensive on the used market. The Viper just stands completely apart from both with its old-school brute force formula, naturally aspirated massive displacement, a front mid-engine layout, and an incredibly demanding driving experience. It's also worth noting that even the mighty Audi R8 V10, one of the very few remaining 10-cylinder competitors out there, abandoned the gated manual gearbox entirely by its second generation, moving to a 7-speed DCT only. This really leaves the Gen 5 Viper strictly in a class of its own. It is the absolute last bastion for driving purists. Section 5. The verdict. The financial value proposition here is just wild, because since they aren't making any more of these, every generation is an appreciating asset. Used pricing today is genuinely shocking. Right now, you can find 2013 to 2014 base examples with 25 to 50,000 miles trading at around $55,000 to $75,000. Think about that. That is a hand-built American V10 supercar for the price of a nicely equipped new Toyota Tundra. The 2015 to 2016 GT and GTS models sit right in that $60,000 to $85,000 range. The legendary 2016 and 2017 ACR commands a premium at $75,000 to $110,000. And if you're looking at the super rare 2017 GTS-R Commemorative Edition, that is true collector-grade investment territory, running $90,000 to $150,000. So let's build out a reality check for prospective buyers. If you're hunting for one, follow this exact checklist. First, demand to see a verified, strict 3K to 5K mile service history. This matters immensely because enthusiasts love to track these cars, especially the ACRs. Second, thoroughly inspect the carbon fiber clear coat to ensure you aren't inheriting a massive cosmetic repair bill. Third, check that exhaust manifold integrity for those notorious cracks. And finally, get it on the road to test the clutch operation and ensure the Tremec synchros haven't been chewed up by aggressive tracking. If you find an example that passes that checklist, our verdict is a resounding, unapologetic buy. Look, new ones are entirely unavailable. Production is permanently shut down. But on the used market, you are buying into one of the greatest driver's cars of the modern era at a genuine bargain. It's the absolute last V10 manual American supercar ever built, and it will only appreciate from here. The factory is closed, the nameplate is definitively dead, and the era of the uncompromising manual V10 is over. So the question is, are you ready to tame the last analog monster before these prices become entirely untouchable? Thanks for tuning into this explainer from Buy or Buy. And seriously, you might want to start checking the classifieds right now.